but let's kick it off here. Let's start our final installment in our master trading interview series. I'm Charlie Bathgate. I'm the CEO of our operations here at Sang Lucci Trading, and I'm joined by Sang Lucci.
How's everyone doing? How's everyone doing?
So Lucci is joining us from the Trade Space offices down in Puerto Rico. So if you guys see people like coming in and out of an elevator, or you hear someone yell out an obscenity that has to do with losing money on a crypto trade, that's what's happening. It just kind of comes to the territory. So bear with us. And yeah, this is the final episode in our series. We've done 4 up to this point. The whole point of this series has been to sit down with our educators, our lead traders, and talk about their journey from going from a beginning trader to a pro. Some of this has been about the psychology of it, the psychological journey that people went through. Some of it has been about navigating the industry, the skill sets that people had to develop. We've really hit on a lot of different areas of development that a trader has to go through. So if you haven't seen the episodes prior to this, highly suggest going to our YouTube channel, pull up the playlist that we have for this series, and check out the ones with Lucci. That was the first one we did with Chris Cady, with Wall Street Jesus and Ron Chero. That's like a murderer's row of experience there for you all. And today we'll finish it off with Lucci. We're sitting down here, and we tease this a little bit in terms of what we're going to be talking about. We talk a lot about psychology. It's kind of impossible to separate out psychology from everything else that we do, but I think this one is going to be more kind of tactical, tangible, skill sets oriented, because we're going to talk about the 2 skill sets that when Lucci and I, when we kind of sit back and talk about these things, these are the 2 things that really separated Lucci from, the rest of the pack, I guess you could say, that really put him in a place where he was like, I know that I have edge, and I know that I can, do this consistently, profitably, professionally for a long period of time. So the first of those 2 skill sets is tape reading. So Luch, give us, we talked about tape early in the first episode. I don't think we didn't go too deep into it. Obviously, you've talked about tape ad nauseum. It's something that we teach in the master course a lot, but humor us and remind us for you, the function that tape serves for you in your trading, and maybe give everybody like a 30-second summary of just what tape is for people who are in here who have no idea what tape reading is.
Sure. I am actually looking for a something to share here. You guys can see this, correct? Everybody can see this?
Yep, we got it.
Okay, cool. So just a quick brief, what the hell is this kind of thing? Is you're really just looking at transactions. You're looking at everything that is happening in that particular equity at any given moment. And tape is a broad way of defining, buyers and sellers in a particular marketplace. And it's a way to gauge supply and demand. And that's really all I care about. That's really all I care about. Is there some demand for this thing? Are there people that want to get the hell out? Who's trapped? What kind of signs and what kind of theories can I produce by looking at these transactions? Now, people get very confused when you say tape and you say level 2 and time and sales and everything. People get very scared about the fact that, oh my God, I got to look at all this shit and, what do all these numbers mean and all that kind of stuff. So, you're going to get a lot of that. And the fear of it, is a situation that I've had to deal with teaching people over time as well. I'm looking for my screen here. So I'm gonna move to a different share, and I'm gonna give you guys an example of another way to look at tape. It doesn't have to be a particular stock or an option or something like that. There's so many forms of tape. So I want you guys to kind of expand your mind out a little bit and give me a little leeway here to to show you guys something different. So I'm going to do a little portion here, and let's go to this new marketplace which just opened up. How many of you guys trade NFTs? Anybody trade NFTs here? Let's go to Mechaverse. This was a popular NFT collection that just dropped, right? So now inside of this platform, you're going to see tape. And what is tape in this particular platform? What we're looking at is the activity. These are all the sales of these Mechaverse NFTs. And by the way, they haven't even dropped the actual art. So people are flipping the art and they haven't even fucking received the damn art yet. So you're already looking at and look at all this, right? 2 minutes ago, somebody dropped 6 ETH for this particular NFT, and they haven't even dropped the rarity yet. They haven't dropped the rarity. They haven't dropped any. And again, I'm talking about NFTs, assuming you guys know what the hell I'm talking about, but even here, like these are all the offers, right? Somebody put a day ago, somebody put an offer for 1 ETH, somebody popped up an offer, another person popped up an offer for 4 ETH, and then somebody put up for 5.25, and then these are all the actual transactions. Look, this thing was minted for 0.06 Ether, and the floor for this thing, and the floor, what I mean by floor is the cheapest price you can get into this particular collection. And the cheapest price for this collection is 6 ETH. Now do the math, right? ETH is going for what? Oh, let me sell the rest of this BTC I got. I just bought this dip on BTC. Anyways, I'll show you guys some tape on BTC as well. So on Metaverse, this thing just got minted. Nobody has received anything. These things got minted for 0.06 Ether. That means the initial price that you could buy in at was 0.06 Ether. If you got lucky enough to get in on the raffle. And the cheapest price you can buy one right now is 6 Ether. Now, we can look at the tape of all of this, right? We can look at who's buying, we can look at who sold, we can look at all of this shit. And you can see from even a couple hours ago, look at how much activity is on this NFT collection. Okay, and the similar thing we can see for all these, for all these big NFT collections. And you can sit there and look at the tape, and you can see and you can kind of feel the action here. These things have been flying. And again, these are all just JPEGs and pictures of shit that you can't even believe you're buying. However, it puts you in a nice little cool community where it has some benefits and things like that. But even in a market like this, there's plenty of tape. There's plenty of tape to read. So if I'm sitting here, by the way, the floor price for this particular collection was 0.5 Ether. That was maybe 6 months ago. Okay. And again, you're just basically coming back, taking a look at this market, taking a look at dip buys, and just like they work in the equities markets, you can see right here in NFTs. Now, the liquidity might be different, right? So if you're looking at a Bank of America option, you can put $1 million in that thing real pretty quickly. Whereas if you're looking at an NFT collection, you can't really put $1 million. But if you do put $1 million on it, I can see it. And if I can see it, and I can see somebody put $1 million on this collection, well then, what do you think I'm gonna feel like? What is it gonna do to me? What kind of behavior is it gonna shape from somebody like myself, who is looking at the same NFT and looking to buy this NFT? If somebody else is dropping a fucking $1 million on this thing, then what do I gotta do? And those kind of simple, basic behavioral principles of all markets, that's what tape is, So you can look at tape of an option, you can look at tape of a stock, of whatever the hell it is you're looking at, and you can gauge fear, you can gauge, greed, you can gauge some of the emotions that we all have. You can gauge non-action, aka just activity that is all over the freaking place. You can gauge, there's so many different ways to read a market. So tape to me, that's what it is at the basic concept. And then tape to me has just expanded to a much more broader kind of picture where, I'm really looking for certain things to happen before I get super aggressive on certain trades or things like that. So most of the time, I'm just punting around. I'm really just punting around markets just to find something, find some activity, find something that is telling me like, oh shit, this is interesting. There's a high demand for this, or tons of people are trapped in this and they got to get out. If they got to get out and there's no liquidity to get out, then there's a big opportunity to short there. So that's the kind of mindset you need to have when we're talking about just tape. And that's the kind of strategy that I've based all my decisions off of for any market and for whatever flips I'm into. And by the way, I am the flip fucking master. I'm into all kinds of flips. You give me something to flip and I'm in there, baby. So these are the principles that I've used my whole career um, to base my decisions off of, to base my trading decisions off of.
Do you, Lucci? I mean, you're kind of you have an earned reputation for being so good at being able to flip direction, go directions super quickly, get out of a trade long, go short, blah blah blah.
Sure.
Do you attribute that to tape being your fundamental?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because oftentimes there's games, right? There's a lot of games. There's a lot of, people like to call it manipulation, so to speak. I think that term just gets blanketed over anything that somebody can't understand. It's like, okay, I can't understand this, so let's just call out manipulation and try to AMC ape gang these bastards until it just works in our favor kind of thing. But absolutely, that is something that I've been able to survive by that ability. Now, I'm not always great at it, though. I'm not always great at it. Sometimes I'll mess up just like everybody else, and that's the human component of the game. And that human component of the game is something that, unfortunately, that's a game that only you can solve for yourself. And that's a whole nother game. And that's why Charlie and I talk about psychology all the time, because once you know a game and once you understand how to make money off of it, the rest of it is just you and you. It's just you fighting yourself. So the majority of the time when you hear me talking about trading, like, I don't really talk about trading mechanics and things like that because it's a part of me. It's a part of how I look at everything. Like, even when I go home, even when I go home and the wife asks you, like, what are we gonna have for dinner? Like, I look at this shit. I look at all of these things as trades. I look at all of these things as markets where there's a bit of negotiation here. There's some demand I gotta read. There's a little bit, and that's how I make my decisions in life. So it's always just a part of me, and the rest of it is just me against me kind of thing.
Right. So what do you say to people who, say, okay, well, this is just like one way to read the information that, market data, this is one way that it's displayed, but, okay, if I want to see, you said it, you could see fear in the table. Why can't I just go to, the VIX or the fear index? Like, why can't I just pull up charts? Like, why tape? Why would, why
Yeah,
tape
yeah.
versus other forms of information?
So versus the other thing is the other forms of information are historical per se. The other forms of information, you might be looking at data from, especially if you're trading U.S. equities, a lot of data is obscured, or you have to pay a considerable amount for that data, or that data only comes to certain people before it hits the street. So most of the time, by the time it hits the street, you lost your edge. You lost your edge. You lost that window of time. But the tape is right now. It's right now. So if I have a theory where, for example, let's take a look at this Tesla here, for example. And again, this is not saying this is going to happen, but if it does, I'm already kind of ready to go and I know exactly what I need to do, right? So let's assume, I'm assuming everybody can see these charts here. Let me know if you can.
Yeah. There we go.
You take a look at this Tesla, and it's like it's in this place where there's so much money on the long side here, and it's almost the only stock. It's one of the only large cap stocks to buy right now, besides like a name like Netflix and like an Upstart and a couple of these other companies. But even Upstart is not it's not a mega cap name. So you take a name like this Tesla, at some point, if they're pushing in all these people long and all of a sudden, whatever that bid is, it just gets pulled. You start to see what looks like in the tape just straight selling, like on the offer. Bids just start to disappear, and you start to see the liquidity dry up, and you start to see most of the transactions just hit the bid, and everybody's just screaming for a freaking exit. Now, again, not saying it's going to happen anytime soon, not even going to say it's going to happen at all. This thing might hit $900. I'm just saying, at this moment in time, there's not a lot of places where people are parking their money. Tesla is one of those big places. If they pull the rug on this one, you're going to see it unfold really, 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 really fast. And it's those moments in time where you can take an option and you can make some really good money on it. Because again, depending on there's difference between reading something and then actually trading it. Those are two completely different things. It's like learning another language. You might learn how to read a language, but you can't fucking speak it. How many of you guys know what I'm talking about? Like, you might be able to read a language, you might be able to understand somebody speaking a language, but you can't speak it. And those are two different parts of the brain right there. And they have to work in conjunction in order to do it. So it's the same thing here. So, if at any moment, the bid gets pulled on the market or whatever the case is, and there's no more buyers left or there's no more propping this thing up, that's it. You're going to see a 50-point down day and 100 points in 2 days, just like that. Why? Because so many people are along this thing, and you can feel it every day, every single day. They just buy this thing every single day, and it's just slow. It's very, very slow. And then from an options perspective, you can't make money in that shit. You can't make money in that shit unless your entries are crazy good and you're kind of scalping it in and out. But when you get a clean move and there's some serious panic and there's just alpha all over the place, then you can take an option from $5 and it turns into 20, it turns into 30. The problem is what are you going to do while it ain't doing that? Most traders especially who trade options, they just look at the percentage gain, so they think, all right, yeah, I can rip 50% or 100% in a day, but it doesn't work out like that. Most of the time, you get these things called fake outs, where an option price, pushes higher considerably, and then it just flattens out or it just disappears. Like, for example, today in Tesla, everybody was buying these 825 calls, and the 820 calls, and they were buying at 4.5 on this thing, $5, 390, and we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars on this thing. And the stock went up like 10 fucking points. This thing didn't go anywhere. So the way options are priced, that's a whole nother piece of the game. So there's the technical part that you have to understand about what an option is, and then there's the tape part that you understand where to execute, when to get in, when to get out, so there's a lot that kind of comes together that is tape to me. So,
Right.
but all those pieces tend to get pretty confusing to put together for anybody.
Right. You that's hence the course. Hence you need somebody to teach you how to do
Exactly.
these things.
Yeah,
Um,
you need the technical part, you need the theory part, and then you need hours. You need hours of experience, just like learning a language, which is so fucking hard sometimes, especially for Americans, because again, we think in English, right? We think and rationalize in English. And when you're trying to learn another language and your primary language is English, you try to understand something from the English perspective. So you try to translate things in English, but you're speaking another fucking language. And that they never started from that place, so it's not going to make sense to you in English. You're learning another language, so it takes time, it takes reps, it takes experience.
I mean, I think I think the language metaphor is a really good one, because that's one of the things that when we teach people tape, and we do intake surveys, we do outtake surveys, we do a lot of talking to the students and asking, like, how has this impacted you? How do you feel now that you have the skill set or you have this exposure, to this versus, prior to it? And one of the things that they say is, you know, basically that they feel like they can read the markets now, that they understand the markets, whereas prior it was a black box, and they were just sort of like, something would happen and I would sort of guess as to why that happened, and I would take action, and you're always sort of playing catch up. Whereas now they're like, I get I get how it all works. It doesn't mean that I can go, we're not guaranteeing it's as Lucci said, it's another thing to be able to go then execute on that understanding. But they're like, I understand why everything happens. I understand why Tesla just moved in the way it did. I understand who made it move. Like, the pieces all come together.
Right, right. And to take what he's saying further, like if you go to the crypto markets now, like the crypto markets are so open, and the structure behind coins and the economics behind the coins is all out in the open, versus where you look at the US equity markets, all that data is obscure. You can't just, you can't just come up on it. People have been studying market structure for fucking years and they still don't fucking understand it. We know because we used to work with all of these cats in New York. We couldn't even understand it ourselves. It went that deep. The things that you could do, but you had to have connections to make those things happen. That's the US equities markets. Crypto, you can see it all. You can see it all. You know who's behind it. You know who owns most of the freaking float. You can even talk to them on a damn Telegram chat and say, "Hey, what's up? How you doing? What are you gonna do with your freaking, with your supply over here?" So you can feel it all. You can taste it all. So it's a whole different world over there, versus U.S. equities and options. But again, we're talking about what happens behind the scenes, what happens behind the charts. If I was to explain tape from the most basic, 5-year-old perspective, it's just what happens behind this chart. You know, where does the order get routed to? So when you're looking at a level 2, like, what the hell is this? What is ARCA? What is Nasdaq? Who are these people? What is a dark pool? What is all that shit that happens behind the scenes of your charts? That's tape. That's tape.
That's how the market works fundamentally.
I-
It's the pulse of the market. I mean, in terms of you, like people coming in and saying, well, how can you, with algos out there and stuff like that, like how can you read tape anymore? I mean, how do you respond to that? You're still reading tape every day, right? It's
Because
possible.
again, they look at it's their definition of tape, right? So I see Ani here asking, can a retail trader go up against machines reading tape at millisecond delays and interpreting an algo software? Now, algo softwares reading tape, remember, they're gonna read on they're gonna read on 1,000 different names. There's no way you're gonna compare, to that particular algo software. But what are we talking about here? What we're talking about here is using tape to make a decision so that you can make some money. That's what we're talking about. Most people, when they make these arguments, they're sitting there thinking, well, how do I read this fast enough? How do I read the transactions fast enough so that I can make a decision to make a trade? That's all they think about. But that's not tape. That's not fucking tape. That's not tape at all. Like it is the collection of all of these sort of data points, behaviors across all of these different market participants. And when they all come together, and when there's, one or two events where everything moves together, or there's, let's say, a short squeeze in an AMC or a GameStop because there's a low float and you could kind of see it coming, situations like that. That's a bigger picture. That's a bigger picture theory that is being supported by tape over time. You know what I mean? So too many people just are too hyper focused on, hey, I'm looking at this tape right here, and I can't read these transactions enough. What does this mean? What does this mean? What does this transaction mean? What does this transaction mean? That's not what I'm talking about. That's not what it is. Tape is creating behavioral theories, right, on the markets. Um, as far as supply and demand, and then catching a wave where people are jumping on that wave right now. The wave, and one of them, I should say, is oil. This train is ridiculous right now. Another one is BTC. Another one is a lot of the crypto markets. So you can see that tape unfolding every single day. You know what happened in crypto? Damn, I wish I could. Let me see if I can show this chart over here. This will be a good one. I'm just logging into a US account. Unfortunately for crypto here, US accounts, you don't get too much space like you do in other markets here. I don't know what I did with my phone. Okay, so I don't think I'll be able to do that. However, let's see if I can get a BTC index on here too. Yeah, okay. So they have something here. I don't know what exactly this one is. So this is under 40,000, okay? So let's just look at this, and again, just consider this under 40,000 for BTC, okay? And again, I know it's kind of like, actually, you know what? I got an idea. This is a good one. Okay, so let's take a look at BTC under 40,000, okay? And what you're going to see, and what I want you guys to understand, is that This this thing got held up through off of 40,000, and there was so many bids. So if you looked at the book under 40,000, this was like a month ago, what you would have seen, and again, there's data points off the wazoo, and half the people I spoke to down here in Puerto Rico who run crypto hedge funds, they told me the same thing. Hundreds of millions of bids for BTC under 40,000. Everybody was waiting for this crack, and they wanted to get filled at 35, 30,000, even under 30,000. And I'm talking about hundreds of millions of dollars that people wanted to get along in BTC. Now, what ended up happening? This shit happened. Now, what did everybody down here and all the largest funds have to do? You tell me. What did everybody have to do down here? Right? That wanted to buy this shit at 35,000, they wanted to buy this shit at 30,000, they wanted to buy this shit at 28,000. We're talking about the biggest funds out there, right? We're talking about the biggest funds out there. They wanted billions of dollars of this shit under 40,000. What do they have to do? Kevin is saying attack the offer. Yeah, that's one way. What else? What do they have to do? Like if you want exposure, remember all these people needed exposure. They wanted exposure, right? So what do you got to do? Yeah, you got to move your shit up. So all of those bids, what do? They come up. They come up. So now what do you think happens? Now the support in the market is all the way up here, and this is legit funds that want to buy hundreds of $millions worth of BTC and you name it. Now they got to move up. So now what are you going to do? What the fuck are you going to do? What are you going to do? What the fuck do you think you're gonna do? You're gonna buy this shit in front of them. Any dip that you can get, you're gonna start buying. So that's how markets move here, people. That's just how they move. This is just how everything moves, right? So you can look at NFTs. You can look at. It doesn't matter what the hell you're looking at. If you understand the mechanics of this shit, it just becomes second nature, man. So that's
Is this
tape.
is this part of the move that you were trading that you pulled that 600K down on?
No, 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 no. That was a short in the market. So that had nothing to do with this shit. So that
All
was
right.
that was a short in the market. So that was like that was like all this shit. So that was like this stuff right here. That was
Right.
all this shit. So that
Okay.
was me just short everything and pulling that off. You know. I think that was this day right here. Pretty sure we gapped up and then we just died. And it was just all day selling. Those days are the best for me.
Short bias.
Yeah.
Um, all right. So I'm sure you all will have a lot of questions based on tape, and throw them in. Do me a favor, throw them in the Q&A section of Zoom, and it'll make it much easier for us to answer these questions and sort them. So that's a pretty good primer on tape. I think you guys get the gist that it's not, it doesn't just apply to U.S. equities and options. And we get people all the time who are like, "Hey, I'm a futures trader, or maybe, I'm into crypto too. Like, will this be relevant to me?" And as Lucci just demonstrated, yes, tape reading is relevant to any market you're trading.
Absolutely. Even NFTs, even freaking tickets, cars, whatever the hell you're looking at, man. It is all about this shit. And hype now is the name of the game, man. I mean, you guys see on TikTok, you guys see on freaking Telegram chats and Discord chats. You guys are sitting on them all day. I don't need to tell you this shit. You guys know what's happening out here. Pump and dumps left and freaking right. How do you think they work? How does a fucking pump and dump work? Why do you think you need to have 60,000 people in a fucking Discord chat for a move to work like that? It doesn't take that long to figure the shit out. But if you're new to this whole thing, it requires a certain type of mindset or mentality that it might be hard for you to get to because of what you've already learned thus far, or who knows. So you might need a kick in the ass, and that's what I'm here for.
So then let's talk about the second skill set that we identified, Luch, that we were talking about. You actually referenced it in the first interview that we did in this series, and you were talking about how a big moment for you in your career was really learning how to sell right options and sell
Yeah,
options.
yeah,
So, and that's something that we definitely, we in the course we teach options, by scalping, short term, swing trading, buying, long, short, whatever. But selling options is definitely something that we go into in depth. So talk to us a little bit about you know, that moment for you in your career, the doors that opened up, and you know how you integrate tape and selling, maybe that.
Oh, integration and tape and selling was the whole reason why it worked. Like that was the added edge because guess what? It's much easier to guess where a stock won't go than where it will go. So if you just look at percentage wise on an option, right? If you're trying to play out of the money options on whatever name it is, right? So let's just, I don't know, let's say you're fucking around with Apple, right? And you're trying to bet on this week, where this shit can go, right? And you look at this chain and, you see some calls here going for X amount. And within a certain period of time, right? You got Friday expiration right here. These things are going for pennies. You got some puts, that you can play. For me, depending on the type of market it is, since I know from a percentage standpoint that most of the time you buy out of the money options with a short term expiration, they expire worthless. Then what does that mean for the people who write the fucking options? That means I could write the same option and the percentage just flips in my favor. So why the fuck wouldn't I do that? Right? Now, in beginning this kind of stuff, I never wanted to do it because I was always so arrogant in the sense that, my option could go here and, I'll make $1 million today or tomorrow or whatever. So why the fuck do I need to write options? But it became increasingly harder to make $1 million in one day trading options. It became increasingly difficult because it was just so much more noise, and maybe it was a personal thing. Maybe behaviorally speaking, like I couldn't sit there and sweat it out like I could before. So I was like, all right, I need something else. I need another tool here in the toolbox. So then it was like, all right, let's just start writing these options. Then it became a leverage issue, right? So most of you guys who are, let's say you got a $25,000 account, $20,000 account, then it becomes a leverage issue because you're only going to be able to write maybe 5 or 10 contracts on a $20,000 account. And that's most of your freaking account right there. You know, that's your whole shebang right there. And you got to dedicate it to one trade so you can make, 1%, 2% or something like that. And most traders who are at that level with 20 grand, 5 grand or whatever, they're not going to do that shit. You're not going to do that shit, right? Because it ain't sexy, number one, and it's not fast enough, right? But I have turned over double, tripled my account in a year, just sitting there doing nothing but writing options. And it was so much more sort of safer. I had less I had less volatility, so to speak, in my P&L. You know, I had just better quality of life. Um, so it was just another tool that I was able to add to my arsenal, which I should have added when we were in New York, bro. I mean, I should have been on this shit when I was, but that's how this shit goes, man. Remember, there's a personal part to your growth, and then there's the technical piece to it, and then there's the experience part to it. So everybody's journey is very unique. So my experience led me finally to do something that I had been avoiding to do because of my ego, arrogance, call it whatever the hell you want to call it. And then I did it, and then it turned out to be the best thing for me because it allowed me to work on my quality of life, and I was still making great money while doing it.
Right.
So as far as tape with writing works, is that, put it to you this way: in the course, we're going to give you like this formula of why an option is priced the way it is, right? And there's all these factors in your formula, right? Things that could go against you and things that could go in your favor. With an option, you have the major issue of time decay. This is why everybody fucks their entries up and fucks their exits up on any option, no matter what they're doing. Unless you got a lot of experience enough to see some things kind of go together for you to either sidestep and avoid taking an option trade, or you really understand the timing aspect of it. So writing options allows you to evade the sort of timing aspect to it and the decay part of it. It puts the decay in your favor. So you're sitting there collecting that premium while everybody else is just getting smoked. So that's kind of like a very important part of writing options and why we did it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that one thing that you said in one of the last in the last interview that we did is well, we can see your psych, by the way.
Yeah,
Is you were just saying a lot of trading is about you got to stay alive until it's your moment, right? And I feel like for you were just like, all right, not only can I stay alive, I can make good money, selling options until conditions are right that I can come in hard on a pretty intense move. And
exactly.
yeah,
Exactly. And most of the times, I'm waiting around for that shit. I'm waiting around. I'm just plugging around. I ain't doing shit. I'm not making any money. Most of the time, I'm just sitting around. I ain't making any money. I'm just sitting around, just trying to smell something. Like, just give me something to smell here. Give me something to give me some action here. And while I'm doing all that, I can sit there and just sell options all fucking week, all day. Especially now they open up the SPX shit every single day. You can just do that every single day, and it's a great. You have to have it. You fucking have to have it as a tool. If you are an options trader, an equities trader, a freaking futures trader, you have to do this. You have to. There's no other choice. You got no fucking choice now. I mean, if you want to duke it out for yourself with a $20,000 account, hey man, I did it. I did it with $1,000 account. I did it. I grew it. It brought me to where I am right now. But to stay here and to continue to grow, number one, you're not going to make the same decisions as you would with a small account with a fat ass account, like a 7-figure account. You're not going to make the same decisions. You can't. You can't afford to. You're not going to go all in with your whole fucking account on like you would on a small account. You're not going to do that shit. So, you got to evolve. You have to evolve, and part of doing that is finding new ways to put your cash to work.
right. And I feel like this is definitely a common denominator across all these interviews is, I think for true pros in this game, they can trade any market. They have different tools in their toolbox so that no matter what's going on in the market, they can do it. So when you see newer traders who are like, you get really good at learning one type of methodology that can work in one type of market environment, but then they're trying to fit a square peg into a round hole,
Yep. Yep.
80% of the time, and they're getting pissed that they're losing money. It's not working. They're frustrated. They lose their mental capital, their financial capital. You got to be able to apply different approaches to different market environments, right? So selling options
Indeed.
opened up a lot of doors for you on that front, I feel like.
Indeed. Indeed.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we got a lot of questions teeing up here. So
And remember, when you guys take the course, like we're gonna do this like step by step. Like I'll show you about margin. I'll show you where you want to do these things. Ranchero's gonna take what I started and blow it up times 10 for you guys. So you're gonna have tons of tools and weapons in your arsenal here, to play with.
yeah, and I think that that's one of the things that for you too, like you talk to anybody who has an options writing strategy or anybody who has who reads tape, they're gonna have different flavors of it. They're gonna do it differently. Ranch and you are perfect examples of that. Ranch reads tape. He doesn't do it in the same, I don't think it's like primary in the same way it is for you, but damn right that whenever he's actually looking at his entries and his exits or just trying to get a flavor, put his finger on the pulse of a name, he's pulling up tape, alongside a lot of other technical analysis and, and other indicators for him. So there's just so many different ways to use these skill sets and these tools. It's not just like, there's one way to read tape. You do this and that's it. That's all you got. So we can get we're gonna get into some Q&A and let you guys drive some of this. I got a question about the course, the master course, so I'll do the quick pitch on that right now. And the whole reason we're doing this series is because once a year now we're doing live master courses, and the next one starts in a week, 1 week from today. So that is, you can learn more about this if you go to www.sanglucci.com/MC, which I will put into the chat. And we're running a special right now. SLMC 250 off is the coupon code, which I will also put in here. Saves you $250. You can do it in a single payment. You can do it in a payment plan. And the pitch is pretty straightforward. Like there's nowhere on the planet that you can learn the skill sets, the things that we are going to teach you for $3,000. There's just nowhere you can do it. If you can find a way to go plop yourself down in person at some of the only remaining legit elite prop firms out there, maybe you might be able to learn some of this stuff. But other than that, there's just no way you're going to find people who have Lucci's background, Wall Street Jesus' background, Chris Gates's background, Ranchero's background, who are gonna teach you this stuff. You're going to learn tape from Lucci. You're going to learn options from Ranch, as well as his trading the pro strategy. And when I say learn options from Ranch, I mean this is he came up in the options perspective, the Sang Lucci method for pricing options. So you're getting that. Flow trading from Wall Street Jesus. Market profiling and trading psychology from Chris Katie, with me with an assist there on the trading psychology stuff. You're going to get a lot of trading psychology from Lucci. You get lifetime access to all the recordings and all future live sessions, so you can keep coming back as much as you want. You're a member for life. You pay once, you're a member for life. It's a pretty damn good deal, I gotta say. Lucci gives me shit probably 3 times a year that we're not charging 10 grand for this instead of 3. Who knows what's going to happen next year? So take advantage of it while you got it. Again, course, the class, the next live course starts in a week. So you guys got a week to jump in there if you want to be in there live. That's a pretty incredible opportunity. So jump in there and hit us up, contact@sanglucci.com. Go any of the websites, use the chat icon, the bottom right-hand corner. We'll get your questions answered for sure. Marcus Castro saying, Chris Katie changed my life. Chris Katie changes a lot of lives. Everybody, it's funny, we've got this, it started out, it was Lucci teaching like 10 classes and that was it. And people would, that blew people's minds. And then now we've got Ranch in there, we got Chris, we got Jay, and everybody of course pulls something from each one of these guys, but then it's funny to see how people gravitate there. Like Lucci's my fucking guy. Like just that, the way that he describes things, his perspective on the market. He's like he's my guy. And then some people are like, Chris is my guy. Some people are like, Ranch is my guy. You're getting a lot of different ways to approach this. So, Tim, if we're unable to attend this one, how long until the next one? A year. We do them once a year. You can always watch the recordings and stuff like that. So we have tons of people who don't get to come to the live sessions or every live class or something like that. They're at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. So some people, that doesn't work for their schedule. A lot of people just watch the recordings. That's totally fine. But if you really want to be in the live class, interact with the educator while they're teaching and stuff like that, you'd have to wait a year if you can't make this one. Let's get some questions here. So, from the crypto example, do you buy based on demand you saw on tape, or do you combine with actual price action in the chart?
It's kind of both. Sometimes it's kind of both. And in the crypto example that I gave you guys for BTC, so it kind of just expounds upon an idea that you have, and then finding the tape or kind of action that proves out that particular idea. Like the short on BTC, I missed it. I was going to short 57 or so based on kind of the action on the tape at the highs here, 57.8 and 57 and change. Like this thing got pretty, you could tell like it was, you could tell like it was getting ready to slow down a little bit. And then we started peeling off. You could also look at the crypto names in equities, right? So any equities name that had crypto exposure, you'd start to see that fall into. So kind of, you kind of saw an environment here where it's like, all right, maybe this juicy move here in crypto is going to come off a little bit. And all I was looking to do is try to find a dip. So we hit like 54. I saw a limit. I saw, and all this happens very quickly in crypto. Like it's all algos and all programs. You're talking half a second here. This thing happened in a half a second. So I bought whatever the hell I could. So anytime there's a liquidation, anytime there's a liquidation, you'll see shit like this where liquidity just kind of disappears and you get like 1,000 point move on BTC. And that's just me watching this shit for this amount of time. You could even do your own homework here and look at this squeeze. You will see the amount of liquidations from shorts on BTC and Ether and all that kind of stuff. You can actually see it and you'll be like, God damn, mad people got blown out here. So that's why these things happen. I'll always play the reversal because anytime you get this big, these big gaps in liquidity, they'll retrace. They'll retrace. So all I'm looking at is just something I've done for so much time. It's like, oh shit, program sell. All right, buy something. So I caught 54.4 and I flipped out like 55.2 or something like that. So that's all that was. So that's kind of like an experience kind of thing, but it's still tape because you still have to understand the structure of what you're doing. You still have to understand what it means when liquidity disappears and you get these market sweeps. You still got to understand all that stuff to get it all to click in your head. Like, all right, to give you the confidence. So that's all that was.
All right. I think this is a good question. This gets to the core of what a lot of people get concerned about. Selling options has always scared the hell out of me. How do you not get smoked if a stock blasts in the opposite direction while you were on the other side?
Yeah, that's why there's levels to this shit, right? So you're gonna start selling options, and then what's gonna happen? What's the natural thing that has to happen, Peter? You're asking that question because that shit happened to you, correct? You sold an option, right? Or maybe your boy sold an option and you saw that stock going crazy and you were like, oh my God, if I sold that call, I would have gotten rolled over here. Um, um, my bad. These fools here are playing video games
You're
right
all
here
good.
next to me.
You're actually all good. It's not that bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what was I going to say? So it has to happen to you. So you're going to start with selling options, and then you're going to realize what the problems are, and then you got to solve for those problems. That's all trading is. You got to solve for these problems, and then you got to keep going. So we've solved for those problems. We got some techniques and tools and things you can do to adjust and save yourselves from the freaking beatings that you might take when you sell an option that is exactly. Yeah. Ron here, Ron Chero, who's one of our teachers, he's going to teach you how to do it. I'm going to teach you my own way to how to do it. But yeah, we solved for it. We solved for it. And I have a fund that does this full time, bro, 24/7. This is what my fund does because I built automation to solve for that exact problem that you're talking about. You know what I mean? So again, that's what trading is. You're gonna get smacked in the face, and then you got to solve for it. Most people don't solve for it though. They either quit or they can't, or maybe they can't do it. I don't know. But most people
Yeah.
don't solve for it.
Dylan, your question about getting to a tier 2 account and stuff like that, you're getting kind of in the nitty gritty. You should email us about that. We can help you or give you some pointers on that. But let's not go deep into that right now. This is I have we get this question every once in a while. Advice to an 18-year-old who's looking to do this full time down the road eventually. Pros and cons of working for yourself. I mean, first thing I'll say is that's literally what the whole series is about, Presley. So go back and watch these interviews. There's 5 interviews, so watch these things. They'll be a good primer for you. But Luch, advice to an 18-year-old.
Advice to an 18-year-old. This was on the tier 2 kind of thing.
No. Advice to an 18-year-old who's looking to do this full time down the road eventually. Pros and cons of working for yourself. And Presley, I'm not laughing because this is a ridiculous question. It's always funny to hear Lucci's response to when people ask him like, should I do this?
I mean,
I
bro,
don't know.
in this day and age, with what's going on here, with how much content there is on there about how you can do this from your Robinhood phone, and how you can make 700% on your money in a week, and how you can turn $1,000 into $5,000 at your house, and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I've never seen this amount of content regarding how to sort of quit your day job and just trade and all that kind of stuff. And again, I mean, yeah, you can. Yeah, I'm not saying you can't. Like you literally can do this. It doesn't matter what age you are. I mean, if you're 18, you're freaking 50, it doesn't matter what age you are. You can. But are you that person? Are you that person who's going to put in that work? Are you that person who's going to continue after you get shithoused on, a couple of bad moves? Are you that person who's going to go in deep and learn about yourself and your behavior, your emotions, find out what makes you tick? Are you that person? Because if you're not, I'll tell you what's gonna happen. Like you're gonna start out. Maybe you'll get a little bit of luck in the beginning. You're gonna think you can do this, and then you're gonna get fucking destroyed. And when you get destroyed, you're gonna remember these words right now, And when you get destroyed, that's where you find out if you can do this or not. So go do it and go fuck up. That's my best advice to you. Go do it and fuck up. But if you're gonna do it, you better fucking commit to it. You know what I mean? Don't be half-assed about it, which unfortunately most people are.
Yeah. Yeah. Presley, don't assume it's going to be easy. Accept that it's going to be a very difficult road, and surround yourself with some good people, man. That's the most important thing at your age. Like, find a good mentor, find a good community. That's going to be the thing that is the determining factor for you. Saying, when you were selling options, are you just doing puts and calls or spreads or combination? Joining TTP changed the way I look at options, not to mention Jesus with the flow class.
Yeah, I'm doing predominantly just spreads, just credit spreads. That's it. I don't ever make it any more complicated than that.
Right.
Never.
Yeah. Okay, we answered this one. Let's see what else. I went to a top US school in chemical engineering, but nothing as challenging as trading, but it's what keeps me going. Yeah. I mean, we worked when we were in New York. I can't tell you how many people came through our offices who had, like, literally PhDs in quantitative finance from, elite schools and all that shit. I mean, brain power coming out their ass, but trading was the most difficult thing that they'd done, and a lot of them were not well suited for it. That's for sure. Which actually gets to what you were just talking about, Lucci. People overcomplicate things, and I think that's one of the beautiful things that you've done for people, Lucci, and for yourself, is you found a way not to overcomplicate things as much as possible. Like, keep it simple, keep it direct. All right, let's see what else we got. Christine, what is your interpretation of all those long wicks that happen after hours pre-market?
Oh yeah, it's not an interpretation per se. So for example, this Apple, this Apple tape. What happens after market is that late prints often hit the tape. You have VWAP, you have the VWAP traders too. So what VWAP trading is, you open a position and close it literally at the end of the day. There's market on close orders that you're seeing as well, and they're all for different prices. So you're seeing these wicks going all over the place. So I wouldn't take too much consideration into pre-market and post-market, unless, of course, there is some news. I think there was some news on this Apple after hours. I don't know what it was, but yeah, yeah, there was some news here on Apple. So, again, don't get too wrapped up in it. If you really want to understand, this is all that market structure shit I'm talking to you about. This is all that dark pool shit that I'm talking to you about that you wouldn't understand. You wouldn't even know what it is unless you talk to somebody who sees this shit,
Yeah. Tom, you're asking, do you have a schedule classes on the site? We don't have the fixed schedule on the site. I mean, the classes are held at 7:30 p.m. Eastern every night for 3 nights a week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday night. We found that any more than that, people can't really, kind of internalize that much. So, but yeah, they're 3 nights a week, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, and we basically just run the classes on that schedule until we're done. And then the live tape reading sessions, which you get with Lucci. I mean, you're literally seeing his screen while he's trading live markets, and he's sort of verbalizing his analysis of things. Those are during market hours, of course. That's in front of those are in front of live markets. So, Michael Martinez, how in depth do you go on scalping in the master course?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's the master course is about the way that you need to be thinking, right? So if you're gonna scalp, I refer to it many times. I do it many times. So right now, like off the open is where I'll usually scalp a ton of shit. Off the open, I'll scalp a ton of things. Like today, I scalped Tesla off the open because it had the news in the morning. It's been trying to break out over this $800 level. I figured, all right, fuck it, I'll just buy some. It hits 810, I'll get the hell out. And that's what happened. It wasn't an easy trade, and the options really didn't even pay me. So but I'll rip stuff like that all the time. And it just depends on what you want to do for that particular day or what's going on in the market. Right now, I'll scalp because I don't want to hold anything overnight. So absolutely, we talk about all that kind of stuff. But again, it's more about the bigger picture, how to look at the market. Because then once you got that, you can just pick what works for you, right? You can just pick what works for you. And that's the most important thing, figuring out kind of what works for you and what you're going to just focus on versus trying to do everything. Because if you try to do 8 different strategies at the same time, you're going to fall flat on your face.
Well said. All right, guys, that's it. Master course starts 1 week from today. Get your asses in there. If you want to do it, now is the time. SLMC 250 off is the coupon code. sanglucci.com/MC is the website. Luch, thanks for doing this. Thanks for being here. Everybody, thanks for participating. Hope to see you in the course. We'll see you soon.
Later, everybody.